took a couple years for me to dial in nutrition, and now that I've figured out my combination of things, that's all I'll have. So if it's 100 kilometers or less, I just do tailwind and honey stinger. And then if it's 100 kilometers or more, I'll add in the instant mashed potatoes. Once it gets up at the 200-mile range, then I open it up to a few more, like whatever's available for real food, just because I get hungry when I'm
Yeah. Welcome to the Eat for Endurance podcast. My name is Claire Shorenstein, and I'm a registered dietitian and running coach based in New York City. My goal for this podcast, aside from having fun, of course, is to demonstrate that there is no one-size-fits-all style of eating. Rather, there are many different pathways towards individualized health and sports performance. I explore this in my athlete nutrition profiles, as well as in interviews with fellow dietitians on their areas of expertise. This week, I'm really excited to share with you an interview that I did with the amazing ultrarunner Courtney Dauwalter. Now, please note that this episode was recorded over a month ago on March 10th, so do keep that in mind when listening, as we touch upon coronavirus briefly at the end, but obviously a lot has changed since then. If you're not already familiar with Courtney, she is arguably one of the best ultrarunners competing right now, and it's no surprise that she was voted Ultrarunner of the Year for the second year in a row. She has won a number of big races, including the prestigious Ultra Trail de Mont-Blanc in 2019 and Western States 100 in 2018, and she's also set numerous course records. And it's important to note here, she's not just coming in as first female in some of these races, but she's dominating the race outright, so pretty amazing. So obviously I wanted to get her on the show to dig into how she fuels her training and such incredible race performances. Now, Courtney's known for her love of beer, nachos, and candy, as well as her laid-back and very cheerful demeanor, all of which she confirmed during our chat. You'll hear that for yourself. But there is a lot more to her nutrition story. She's a fierce competitor. She's also incredibly tuned into her body. As you'll hear, there's no one big secret to her success. That's the really key thing to keep in mind going into this. And again, you'll see this. It's years of experience and trying different foods and products. And of course, she's learned the hard way, like all of us. Putting in the miles, that's obviously an important one. Remaining very flexible with both food and training. And problem solving while staying calm when things inevitably go wrong. She has her sports nutrition go-tos and some safe foods that she chooses prior to a race, but otherwise she really just listens to what her body craves. So definitely, tune in for more information on all of that. I think you'll enjoy the talk that we had. She was such a pleasure to talk to. We had lots of good laughs. And I just want to thank you, Courtney, for your time. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you accomplish next back when racing resumes. So without further ado, please enjoy my talk with Courtney Dauwalter. Good morning, Courtney. So exciting to have you on the show today, and a huge congrats to you on your second consecutive and, of course, well-deserved Ultrarunner of the Year award.
Thank you. Good morning.
Awesome. So you're, of course, known for your love of beer, nachos, and candy, but obviously there's more to your nutrition story, which is what I want to get out of you today. And I've even had prior guests, I think it was Mike McKnight, say, oh, if only I could eat like Courtney and still perform the way I do, So we're going to find out what your secret is now. Just kidding.
Okay.
So before we chat about running, let's dig into your nutrition roots. You're from Minnesota, right?
I am from Minnesota, yes.
And what did food look like for you growing up? What was the food scene in your house?
Yeah, I think my dad was the cook, and we were super busy growing up. Like I had two brothers, and we were in all the sports and activities. So there was a lot of running around all the time, but we always made sure to sit down together for dinner, even if it was, at 4 p.m., and for 5 minutes wolfing down food as fast as possible. Dinner together was a priority in our house. So I think, it was a cool way to be raised because it instilled, this love for sharing time together with family.
And what kind of food was served generally?
Whatever was fast and easy, a lot of like pasta and tacos and kind of, I don't know. I would call it just normal food, but I'm not sure what that is for everyone else.
I mean, normal's all relative, right? Was there a variety of stuff? Like, did you eat vegetables and fruits and as well as pastas and all the other stuff, or not really?
Yeah, there was a huge variety. My dad is a really great cook, so he would play around. And I think in Minnesota, you get I don't know. There's this dish called a hot dish, where basically you just look in the cupboards and throw things together and heat them up in a pan or whatever. And so I think he was pretty creative with what he made, just based on whatever was sitting around the house.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like there's a lot of variety within the hot dish. I've never been to Minnesota. I've never had a hot dish, but it sounds tasty. And yeah, it sounds like you can be quite creative with what you put in there.
Yeah, it just uses whatever's in the pantry.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that describes a lot of my cooking. I just kind of see what's around and throw it in a pan sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. And in terms of eating quickly, you said you just wolf things down. Is that something that you've kind of brought with you into your adult life? Are you still a fast eater, or you take your time now a bit more?
Yeah, I think it totally depends just on time and if I'm running out the door or not. So I don't always wolf down my food. And
Good.
We didn't, like growing up, we didn't either, but in order to just make it a priority to sit down together, sure. If there was 7 minutes, 5 of those would be used to eat dinner together and then 2 to get out the door. So it was just adapting. Yeah.
Were you usually rushing off to like games and stuff like that, or what was usually going on?
Yeah. I mean, there were 3 kids and we were in all the sports and activities. So there were games and practices and, whatever else goes with that as you're growing up. So yeah, there was always somewhere to be.
Got it. And you were a Nordic skier and cross-country skier as well, right? The difference is in the type of skis and terrain, right? Is that correct? Okay. So you did both, and you were also doing cross-country running. So you were very active. Was nutrition even like were you thinking about it in that way in terms of like nutrition and performance? Was that even on your, horizon at all, or not so much at this point?
No, I think food was just fuel to be active for me. So I wasn't like paying attention necessarily to counting any kale chips or anything. But
I hope you're not doing that now anyways.
Yeah, I'm definitely not. When I was 12, I decided I wanted to be vegetarian. And that lasted for like 10 or 11 years or something like that. So I think it then became part of my dad's role in middle school and high school for me to, figure out what other foods he could serve me that would get me the nutrients I needed if I was going to be cutting out meat. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely like something we had to figure out, but it wasn't, our lives didn't revolve around it by any means.
What motivated that switch for you?
I think it was kind of a phase. I had a friend who was vegetarian. I thought it sounded neat to try. So then I became vegetarian, and then it just became a habit. I was only ordering those types of foods at restaurants or eating them at home. And then eventually it became like a texture thing, and eating meat bothered me because of the texture, because I'd have been so long of being a vegetarian. Yeah. But then eventually I got to, it was like my early 20s, and I was like dreaming about meat and grilled chicken and like thin sliced deli turkey. And so then it was like, okay, phase over. Now let's get back on the meat train.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've heard you say in other interviews that, you eat what brings you joy, which I absolutely love, because that is exactly what I encourage my clients to do. And that's what I absolutely do for myself. So it sounds like, and it sounds like you're very in tune with what you crave and what you want and what makes you happy, essentially. So it sounds like at a certain point you're like, this isn't working for me anymore. I'm just going to move on. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not get
Awesome.
Attached to something just for the sake of being attached to it.
Awesome. And so my question about kind of that connection between nutrition and performance, I guess I was also thinking about actually training. You were so active, like, were you guys drinking Gatorade or doing anything like that? Did how you fuel yourself differ when you were doing different sports? Did your coaches encourage you to do anything in particular, or again, not really so much?
Not really so much. I think being an endurance athlete and like being in middle school and high school and a female, made it so coaches always were just encouraging us to, keep a healthy relationship with food and like cut things out because we think that's what we're supposed to do as endurance athletes. So I think that was the intention. Of course, it's hard and like on a team we had a huge cross country team. So it's, there was a lot of things going on for a lot of people and a lot of body types.
And by that, do you mean that there was pressure to like be a certain weight, or you observed kind of disordered eating behavior, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, all of that. There was a lot of variety is what I guess I mean by that. And there were a lot of eating styles. There were a lot of body types. We had a really, really large cross-country team of girls training together. So you saw a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Did you yourself ever feel pressure to be thinner or, eat only specific foods or anything like that?
Only I just wanted to always try and be my best. And so I was trying to figure out, what that looked like for me and my needs and my body. So it wasn't like pressure from anybody, but just figuring out how to balance the training with taking in the calories with, being a growing up kid. I think. Yeah.
Were there any like big learning moments for you when you were younger? Like you just did something that absolutely did not work, or you felt like you made an error or a mistake that you learned from?
No, nothing that stands out. It's all just a learning process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think all of life is a learning process.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're still learning things for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And okay, so you went to the University of Denver on a skiing scholarship, and you transitioned more into running later on. You were living in Mississippi, and I guess skiing wasn't so much available there, or something you were doing. When did ultras specifically like start happening? I mean, I think you said it was, or I've read it was around like 2011, 2012 was really when the ultras happened, but like how and why? Like what kind of motivated you to get into the ultra scene?
I did a few road marathons and couldn't believe that I survived 26.2 miles. And then it just kind of triggered this snowball effect, I guess, where I wondered, if I survive that, what else can I survive? And then there happened to be a 50K near where I was living at the time. And that seemed like a very doable increase in distance compared to a marathon. That's a 50K is 31 miles. So compared to a marathon, it was like, oh, that's like not that crazy. I should try that. And then that just spurred, looking for the next thing. And I feel like that's what keeps happening still is I finish a distance and I wonder like what else is possible.
Yeah. And I mean, you really are pushing that for sure with all the 200s you're doing and just like dominating that. But yeah, we'll get there in a little bit, but it is really an interesting, quest to like see just how far you can push yourself. Like, what can you do? Big's Backyard, of course, is a perfect example, right? Which I think is on your schedule for this year, right? Or is it not? Yeah.
It is. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a super cool format where, I mean, it's wide open and the distance of the race. So
yeah. And I actually chatted with Maggie right before she like won that, which was pretty exciting. So
that's so cool. Yeah.
Is she running this year too?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. There's going to be a really great field. And I think the cool part about that race is that it's a community effort. Like you need more than just you to do the distance in order for the race to keep going. And so like working together, I hope to share, multiple days of running laps with Maggie, because one, I really enjoy her company, and two, it helps both of us be better if we have each other continuing to push forward.
Absolutely. Because it's not just about, I mean, I think that race is not just about winning, and being the last person standing. It's also like you want to push each other to go further.
Yeah.
At least it's my understanding. So
exactly.
That's pretty awesome. And in terms of your approach to nutrition with ultras, you know, including your everyday diet, I'm guessing that started to change as you started running longer, doing more weekly, your weekly mileage got up into, I guess it's around 100. Is it still around 100 like generally, or is that really just like during heavy training cycles? You know,
it is generally, yes, 100 miles per week.
So, I mean, I'm guessing your nutrition had to change, at least in the most basic level, like it increased, you ate more. But especially as you became more and more competitive, you know, once you began training full time after you stopped teaching, did anything change for you at all? Were you focusing on it a bit more?
No, I don't think I'm focusing on it any more than I was when I was 15, you know? I think my deal with food is that I do just pay attention to my body. I eat what I enjoy and I eat what I crave. And so I do notice that when I train more, like I have a higher mileage week, or I'm just, you know, putting in a lot of hours out there, that my cravings will change a little bit, where maybe I want, you know, food with a little more like meat in it or substance behind it. And then maybe on lighter weeks, you know, some salads are what I'm craving or tasting great. So yeah, I think it's not the forefront of my mind ever, basically. Food is not like how I base my day or my life. But I eat when I'm hungry, and I eat what sounds good, or I eat what's convenient. And I think for my husband and I now, it's just the two of us here. And we keep frozen pizzas in the freezer, because sometimes that's as much energy as we have is throw in a frozen pizza for dinner, you know? So we're not picky, and we're pretty easy. And I think all food, you know, is providing fuel, is providing calories.
Absolutely. No, that's a very good way to look about it. It sounds like you're just very in tune with what you want and need, and you're not stressing about it so much.
Yeah, no, I'm not stressing about it at all.
Yeah. Do you guys enjoy cooking at all, you and Kevin?
No, we don't.
But you enjoy eating, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, we enjoy eating because we get hungry, but no, we're not big. We're not big cooks. I would say that we love grilling. So like, I'm really pumped that it's spring and we're headed into summer, and we can start to throw stuff on the grill, because that's basically all summer long. That's how we get our dinners ready.
Got it. Okay, well, that sounds good. No, I was gonna say, you sound more like not like a live to eat, but a eat to live type of person. Like, you know, you need food, but it's really not something that's on your mind. Like, other people are just like, oh, I can't wait to eat something, and they're like dreaming of eating things while they're running. Although I think I saw somewhere that like you do dream of your nacho toppings or something. But
yeah, I mean, that's just a fun way to pass the hours, is brainstorm what new thing I could put on nachos that would make it even better.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I remember like long runs, I wouldn't really let myself think about what I was going to eat until maybe like halfway, because it was just like too soon. But then I would start dreaming of all the amazing things I was going to eat. Although I am more of a person who absolutely loves to eat and cook. But so what does it, I mean, maybe there isn't a typical day. It sounds like there isn't necessarily one, but what might a typical day look like for you?
Of just life or of food?
Yeah. Well, yeah, with like, you know, you're waking up, like, you know, go for a run, like what, in terms of food and training, and like, what's a typical day look like at home when you're not like traveling?
A typical day is usually up with no alarm between 5:30 and 6:30, and I'll do a couple hours of emails and computer work and drink coffee. I also then will do like sometimes a yogurt and some cereal, or just handfuls of cereal out of the box.
Nice.
And then I'll get out for a run, usually my morning run. Well, I'll do some gym work, and then I'll get out for a run, and usually that's between like 2 and 4 hours. I'll get back, I'll grab, you know, whatever is in the fridge that can be some quick, easy energy, like maybe an apple or some string cheese, or maybe some goldfish crackers or some leftovers. If we have some leftovers laying around, maybe I'll eat some of that. And then usually in the afternoon, I'll get back out for another run with my husband when he's done working. Yeah. And then we'll eat some dinner and hang out. And yeah.
Does your husband work from home?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And what kind of cereal do you usually have in the morning? What's your fave?
My favorites are Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Cinnamon Life.
Cinnamon Life is very good.
So good.
Like that.
Yeah. Always.
I'm addicted to Crispix, although maybe it's not sugary enough for you.
I love Crispix. Those are great, and I think pretty underrated.
Oh, it's the best. I mean, you have to eat it very quickly before it gets soggy. But I'm legit obsessed with it. I bought it because I couldn't, like, we have Cheerios in the house for my toddler, but I was like, maybe she'd like Crispix. And I started eating it. It reminded me of growing up because we'd always have it at the house, and it was delicious. Oh my goodness. I love it. It's a great snack. Yeah, delicious. Okay. And what about your coffee? What's in your coffee? Black, or you put stuff in it?
I usually put a little French vanilla creamer in it.
Tasty.
Okay. Yeah.
And what about when you're traveling? What might a day, I mean, that I'm sure is like all over the place, but do you ever travel with snacks or specific things? Or are you kind of just like finding things as you go? What might that?
I mean, I'll travel with my race nutrition for sure. But other than that, no, I'm pretty easy and can usually find something wherever we are. And one of my favorite airplane snacks is Chex Mix, so I pretty much always buy them at the airport. But but no, I'm not traveling with like a rice cooker or fruit or anything specific like that.
Okay. Do you ever do bars? Are you ever into bars at all, or not really?
So Honey Stinger makes some really great bars, as well as just their waffles, I think, make a great snack. So if I'm bringing race nutrition, I'll always bring extra of those things in case I do need an airplane snack or, a hotel snack, and we haven't found anything yet. So I'll usually have a stash of that kind of stuff.
Got it. And other than beer, nachos, and candy, what other foods bring you joy? And I guess Cinnamon Toast Crunch and all of those. Any other things that really like bring you joy?
Oh man, I think I don't know, raspberries or pineapple, like delicious fruits like that. Self-serve frozen yogurt brings me a lot of joy. Where you get to add your own toppings on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or I love Thai food, like spicy pad Thai or drunken noodles, or some of those different Thai dishes are so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Any foods bum you out, or you limit for any other reasons?
I wouldn't say no, I don't think anything bums me out.
You're just like, oh, get that away from me. No. I'm not into that.
I mean, there's stuff I don't like, but I don't care about anything enough to be bummed out by it,
I'm just going the opposite of what brings you joy. Okay, is anything make you unhappy? You seem like a generally pretty happy person, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing really off limits for you that you're just like, I really stay away from this.
No, I mean, there's preferences. Like, I don't eat a lot of fish just because I don't prefer it, but it's not that I'm like actively avoiding it.
Sure.
I guess. I'm not sure.
Okay. Like, it wouldn't be the thing you choose, but if someone were to serve it to you and that was your only choice, you would just be like, fine.
I would try it. Yeah. And then, yeah.
Do you consider yourself an adventurous eater, especially when you travel, or not so much?
It depends. If I'm traveling for a race, I'm trying to be not very adventurous before the race.
Sure.
But after the race, I want to, experience the local fairs and try some different things. So then I might be a little more adventurous.
Okay. Any memorable things that you've tried?
Oh gosh. No. I think we try and just eat the local foods everywhere, but nothing that's like standing out.
Okay. And so let's move into training and racing nutrition. So you, of course, use Tailwind, as do I, and Are you sponsored by Honey Stinger as well?
Correct.
Yeah. Anything else? I know you love your instant mashed potatoes for races, but anything else you kind of tell your crew to have on hand or use yourself in training or racing?
No, I think it took a couple years for me to dial in nutrition, and now that I've figured out my combination of things, that's all I'll have. So if it's 100 kilometers or less, I just do Tailwind and Honey Stinger. And then if it's 100 kilometers or more, I'll add in the instant mashed potatoes. And then once it gets up at the 200-mile range, then I open it up to a few more, like whatever's available for real food type options, just because I get hungry when I'm
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all I keep. So that's the only stuff my crew will have. And if we do go into problem solving mode because, it's going wrong that day for whatever reason, then I'll just use the aid stations and figure out what I can try from those.
So it sounds like you're basically not going to aid stations at all unless you are, really struggling. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And are you doing Tailwind and plain water or just Tailwind?
Both. Yeah. So I'll usually have at least 2 soft flasks in my vest, and sometimes both of them will be Tailwind, and then sometimes I'll do a water round where one of them is water, just based on hours or however long the race is or however long the distance between aid stations is.
And what's your approach with caffeine? Are you using it, or are you alternating, or not using it at all?
I am not using it during races for the most part. I do coffee before the race. And then from there, I just hope to stay away from caffeine. But if it's getting into the really long ones, like going into a second night or a third night, depending on the race, then I might, do a little bit of caffeine, and then the caffeinated Tailwind works great.
Why do you stay away from caffeine?
I don't find that I need it. I don't think I need to be like buzzed on caffeine the whole time. If I feel awake and alert enough, then just sticking with normal Tailwind for me works perfectly. And so I only use it if I'm starting to feel sleepy.
Got it. And for the Honey Stinger, are you using all their products or just like chews or just waffles or gels? What are you usually doing?
The chews and the waffles.
Okay, awesome. And are you kind of like trying to take in a specific amount per hour? Are you taking any kind of approach there? I know I've heard you talk about like being very flexible with your nutrition and not having a training plan and all that stuff. And I wasn't sure if that really, like when you say you've like dialed things in, like Tailwind, you always hear Tailwind's like, okay, have like 1 stick pack per hour or 240 calories an hour, whatever it is. Are you thinking about that at all? Or you're really just like seeing how you feel and you aren't really thinking about it, but maybe you're almost like subconsciously like just taking it in on a schedule because that's what your body needs?
I am not paying attention to my watch and eating based off of that. So basically I try to just keep a slow drip going all the time. So if there's Tailwind in my bottle, then I'm going to be constantly, sipping little bits of Tailwind, and then I'll have chews going where I'll do a couple chews at a time every once in a while, or break off some pieces of waffle. But I don't want to monitor the passage of time with like a buzzing watch, telling me to eat. I think I do a fine enough job just slow dripping the calories in that I haven't run into huge problems with just doing it that route.
Okay. And what about like your first, I think it was like your first 100-miler that you didn't finish and it was, it hurt and this, all that stuff, or those early ultras where you said you hadn't quite figured out the nutrition, like what was going wrong there? Was it just like the wrong things for your stomach, or you weren't getting enough in? What do you think was happening there?
Yeah, tons of problems. I didn't realize how much you needed to eat during these ultras, and as the distance and hours you're out there get longer, taking in food becomes pretty important. So when I first transitioned, I think in my first 50K I did like maybe one goo or something.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was like, and that felt like crazy to me. Like I was eating out on this thing. I also think I had like a handful of jelly beans in it, but I didn't realize, that that's part of it, coming from running those few marathons and doing 10Ks or half marathons just for fun, where you don't need to eat anything during it. It didn't translate for me that increasing it meant you ate more. Once I realized that you're supposed to be eating more and that it actually helps and makes you feel better, then I didn't really know what to eat, because the aid stations are stock full, of all of these options. And so basically in those first couple of years of running the ultras, I would come into an aid station, and whoever was there in front of me, I'd basically just mimic whatever they were doing. So if they were, digging in the pickles or the pretzels or the candy or, quesadillas, whatever it was, I was just following their lead and like, oh, okay, that's what we'll do this time. And so a huge variety of things I was trying, and led to a lot of time puking in the bushes, because whatever combo wasn't right for me that worked for that person. So eventually, like slowly but surely, I was starting to narrow in, what was staying in, what made me feel really good, and what made my stomach kind of unsettled in those longer ones, and then was able to dial it to the combination I use now.
Got it. I mean, do you generally consider yourself to have a sensitive stomach then, or a strong stomach, or it just really varies on the situation?
Yeah, I would say in general it's a strong stomach, but when some of those combinations of things, if it's just not sitting right and then you're running and it's jostling around in there, then very quickly becomes a not strong stomach.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think, with endurance sport in general, whether it's ultras or Ironman or whatever it is, I think a lot of people just feel like it's almost inevitable to get GI issues, which isn't always the case. I think it just takes some, a lot of experimentation to figure out what works, as you said. But you've had some instances, not so long ago, like for instance, that whole day of vomiting in Tahoe, that first day, where you really struggled to get any nutrition in. And maybe that was because of the heat, I'm not sure. But, how do you, what's like kind of your nutrition strategy when your body's rejecting everything you try to put into it, and how do you kind of keep pushing when you're running on empty for so long like that?
Yeah, I think, I have had some recent instances like that, and I think we've kind of figured out what might be the problem. So at Tahoe, it was definitely the heat, and I think my husband added salt to the mashed potatoes to one, give me more salt, and two, he thought it would taste better. And I think I was just overloaded, because then I was taking in a bunch more salt than I probably would have needed. But when that happens, when those GI issues happen during a race, my first thing is to not stress about it, because it does happen. And having had races where I'm puking like that and still being able to keep going is just, evidence that this is not a reason for panic. This is just a reason, or a situation where we need to start problem solving. So that's my go-to. And then after that, it's just trying stuff and being really patient with it, and taking in, small amounts, continuing forward and seeing if it sticks. And if it doesn't, then you try another thing or another solution.
And just for my listeners, the race we're talking about is the Tahoe 200. And that was in 2018, was it? Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were dominating it up until almost the end of the race, but overall, which is pretty amazing given you were vomiting for an entire day and not really taking in much. So it's overall very impressive. Okay. So let's talk about your kind of pre-race dinner and breakfast. I'm imagining you're, again, staying flexible with things, especially with travel, although you said you are traveling with certain things, that works for you. Do you have kind of a go-to pre-race dinner and breakfast that you kind of tend towards, doing, or Do you just try to like make sure you are able to do different things so that you're able to be flexible, especially when you travel?
I think I don't bring my pre-race dinner. I
Sure.
find something, near where I'm staying, but I'll try and go with something predictable and easy, like pizza, I think is pretty much predictable no matter where you are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I'm in the United States, I find Chipotle to be very predictable, no
What do you
matter
get
where
there?
you are. A burrito bowl
Mm-hmm.
and chips.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
um, so like things like that. But if neither of those things are there, then and I'm at a local restaurant, in whatever country, then I'll just go with something that feels like, like I know what's in it and it's not super spicy. Like I wouldn't do
Yeah.
spicy Thai food the night before a race just because I don't know how that would sit for the morning.
Yeah. But it sounds like you do beans if you're doing a burrito bowl, and
Yeah,
that's seems to
yeah,
be okay.
yeah.
Okay. What about breakfast? What do you like? What's a typical pre-race breakfast for you, and how many hours before you start?
I'll wake up a few hours before I start and I'll have coffee and creamer, and that is my breakfast. So
Seriously? Wow.
yeah, I, I found that I really like starting like that, and then just immediately, like within the first mile, I'll already have, some of my food open out on the trail, and I'll just start the slow drip of calories going right away in the race.
Awesome. And when you say your food, like your waffles and your chews
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff.
correct.
Okay. Awesome. Did you ever try doing like a fuller breakfast? Or did you find you ever got hungry or anything like that? Or like how did you come to the realization that you prefer coffee and then just starting?
I think in my normal life, that's my kind of my breakfast also. I mean,
Okay.
handfuls of cereal or like a quick yogurt. I'm
Hmm.
I'm not a huge breakfast person, and yeah, I just like to start with some good coffee and then get the day rolling.
Yeah. Yeah. No, awesome. There's so many unknowns in ultras, obviously, and especially as you get into these really, really long races that you're doing. And this whole notion of like running without calories, for instance, like I've heard you talk about not really knowing always when you go out to run what distance you're necessarily going to do. And even when you said like it might be 2 to 4 hours, I mean, are you still kind of going out there and not knowing what you're going to do? And as a result, not necessarily having the nutrition to support that, or, whether it's intentional or unintentional, running without calories? Is that something you do still?
So I never am intentionally running without calories, but
Mm.
yes, it still happens where my run will end up being much longer than I left the door thinking it would be. And then I'll be without water, without tailwind, without honey stinger. I know where some of the drinking fountains are around where I live. So
Hmm.
if I do find myself out, I can, aim towards one of those and get enough water to just keep going. But otherwise, I think it's good practice to just have a situation where you aren't taking in calories, because sometimes that happens in a race, and so I don't think it's a awful thing to do once in a while.
But it's not like a frequent thing for you, it sounds like.
No, I mean, it's not on purpose ever. I'm not like, today I'm going to run on 0 calories.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, if it could be once a week, it could be once every couple weeks where I
Hmm.
leave the house thinking I'm doing a 5 mile run, and then I end up out there for, 18 miles. I'm not going to have anything with me. And that's fine to me. Like, it doesn't bother me.
And I assume it's because you're feeling good and that's why you do that, right?
Yeah, it'll be unplanned, because when I leave the house, I often don't have like a set idea of what I'm doing. And then if it's feeling great, or I take a left instead of a right because that's the route my feet take me on that day, then it ends up being longer. And sometimes the reverse happens where I'll have a whole hydration vest packed up, and I've got calories set to do 20 plus miles, and I tell my husband to not expect me for 5 hours or whatever it is, and then I'll be back in like 15 minutes, and I'm just like Dude, that's not happening today.
Yeah. And that's good. And that's important. I mean, again, it's, you are very in tune with what your body needs, it sounds like. So, and so it's good that works both ways. And I think I saw like on your Instagram, like, I don't know if it was last week or recent, but like, you ran like 41 miles with your friend or something.
Yeah.
Like, was that like a planned run? I think, and like, I think it was, someone commented like, oh yeah, just a casual 41 miler on a Thursday. Which I was just like, that's hilarious. I mean, was that a planned thing, for instance? Or was that just like, ooh, this is fun, I'm with my friend, let's do this?
It was ooh, this is fun. He doesn't live in Colorado, so he was in town for the day. And so it was kind of trying to capitalize on, getting to spend some miles together and make it a fun adventure. But yeah, we had a rough idea of our route and our plan, and then we kind of flexed it however we felt basically during.
So like in that instance, how much nutrition, hydration did you bring with you?
So in that instance, I had a vest that had tailwind and water in it. I had honey stinger snacks along for the ride, and was prepared to be out there for a whole day. We also then were doing this loop that was like in and around Golden, the town that I live in. And so at one point we were rolling through town and stopped for sandwiches at the deli. So like,
oh, nice.
It was very flexible in our schedule and our day. And we just were out for a big adventure. I'll usually have, if I do have a vest, or sometimes if I don't have a vest, I'll have, the means, maybe a $5 bill even is all that I put in my shorts pocket or something. But just in case I find myself in a situation where I'm, out for much longer, or I come across a gas station, or, whatever the thing is, but be able to get myself out of a pickle if I need to.
And I'm not familiar, Golden, Colorado, like how far is that from Denver?
It's about 15 miles from west of Denver.
Oh, so it's close by.
Very close, yeah.
Oh, okay, very cool. Recovery nutrition, is this something you think about at all? Like eating within a certain time frame, or taking like tailwind rebuild, or again, you just kind of see how you feel and eat as you normally do whenever you feel like it?
Yeah, I mean, I love tailwind rebuild, so I'll do that. Sometimes when I come back from a bigger one, or I'm just feeling more exhausted, or I'll just grab some snacks after I get back from a run and go based off of how I feel and how hungry I am.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Do you have
nothing is based on time?
Yeah, no, that I've gathered.
A theme.
I hear the theme. Yes, and this is what I suspected going in, but like a lot of the stuff when I was doing my research, some of it was on the older side, so I wasn't sure if anything had changed. Just wanted to check out that. Awesome. Now, of course, you recently won UTMB, which was amazing. It's such an epic race, an accomplishment, and an epic finish. I actually rewatched it last night because I saw like a video of you finish, and I was literally smiling from ear to ear watching you beaming and high-fiving everyone in the crowd down that long finishing chute. That is like the longest finishing chute. My goodness. It's so long.
So crazy. Yeah.
It's just like the video. I mean, I think the video was like 6 minutes. I don't know how long it was, but it like started like as you were like running into town, and you were just like beaming the entire way, high-fiving people, especially like after the finish. Seriously, it was like impossible not to be just like grinning from ear to ear watching you do it, which is amazing.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're still like riding that high, and that was back in, it was August, right? Or September?
That was August, yeah.
August, okay. So what foods and drinks did you reach for as you celebrated your big win? I think you grabbed some croissants, I heard you tell somebody, but what was the rest of that day like? I mean, that must have been so epic.
It was pretty crazy. It was evening by the time I finished, like late afternoon, I guess. And so then hanging around the finish, and then I got basically like put in this side tent and had to wait to go to get drug tested. And so it took multiple hours after finishing to get back home. And then it was straight for the beer. I think we had beer, and I don't even remember what was for dinner. I think just food in general tasted great, and nice crisp light beers were awesome that night. I think the next day we we met some friends and had coffee and like all the pastries. So tons of chocolate croissants and yeah, it was really fun.
Now, when you're being held in the tent for like the drug testing, I mean, are you given food and drinks and stuff to kind of help you recover at all? Like, did you have your tailwind rebuild, or you're literally just like not taking anything in?
You can take, so it's a pee test. And so they have bottles of water that you can drink from to, help expedite the process of getting enough pee ready for the test. But mostly like I couldn't accept things from my husband or anyone. So there was no tailwind rebuild right after, or no beer at the finish line. Had to wait a little bit for that.
Were you starving by the time you like got out of there, or do you tend to just not have much appetite after you finish efforts?
Yeah,
like that?
I don't remember being starving. I think there's just so much going on, and your system is a little bit out of whack when you finish a long effort like that. So I don't remember being starving, but I remember the food tasted great when I finally got to eat some.
Yeah. Are you like I know you love your candy and everything, but are you just like kind of over the sweet stuff, and do you go for salt, or kind of what, aside from beer, obviously, what are you like really craving usually?
Yeah, usually savory, salty, like substance. So definitely not craving candy immediately at the finish, just because I think like the honey stinger chews are like little jelly beans to me.
Yeah.
And so just switching it up a little bit at the end is higher on the to-do list.
Do you sleep after like something like that? So you finish late afternoon, evening, you're getting out, you're having your dinner, like, do you sleep? Are you just like so like revved up that you don't sleep?
A little bit revved up mentally and physically, kind of so sore that it's hard to get comfortable sometimes. So a lot of times the first night, maybe I'll be able to conk out pretty quickly and get some hours of sleep. But then the second and third night, and sometimes the fourth night after, it's not as easy. Yeah. Are you okay?
Oh yeah, no, that was like the baby monitor, like hanging off the desk. Like here, I think like it was me, my baby screaming that would make noise. No, I just like knocked like all this stuff off my desk with my water bottle. Sorry. Anyways, I'm fine. I didn't just like fall out of my chair.
Yeah. Oh no.
What you said was so shocking. No, I didn't fall over. I promise.
Yeah.
Awesome. What challenges do you still face with your nutrition, or do you feel like you've kind of figured it out at this point?
I think I figured out what's working for now, and I'm not like set on this plan. If my body changes or my needs change during a race, I'd be happy to, go back to the drawing board. But I'm really pleased with what we've narrowed it down to for my race nutrition. Just to keep it super simple, keep it really predictable. I don't have to think about it a lot anymore. I know, this is what I do, and that's how I would like to keep it. If, the cards play that way, that would be sweet.
What about like in, at some point in these really longer races, like you've talked about like hallucinations before and I imagine like you're just so fatigued, it's really hard to, even figure out like really actively focusing on nutrition, like it's still in your mind that you need to be doing this on a regular basis. Does that become really difficult as you battle fatigue and you get into these second and third days? Like, is that where your crew is like really like coming into play with encouraging you to eat? But then again, they're not seeing you all the time. Like you're going hours without seeing them. So how does that work when you're like in the real later stages of things?
Yeah, it does get trickier. I think that was where mashed potatoes started helping a lot, and how that got added to the plan, because mashed potatoes I can take in like a liquid, like I don't need to chew. And a lot of times in the later stages of those races, if like you're nauseous or you're triggered, or you're just it's harder to take in actual food. Mm-hmm. Taking in mashed potatoes with a sip of tailwind or water, whatever it can help it just wash down really fast was an easy way to start getting in like good calories and like carbs to burn later in those long races. Okay. So yeah, it gets harder, but I think like I don't need to be monitored when I'm out on the trail by myself in the later ones. Like I'm still I understand that the food helps and I feel better after I take in calories and I'm able to push harder. And I'm not like out there lying to my crew. If I roll into an aid station and I haven't taken in calories for 20 miles, they'll be informed of that and then we'll start problem solving together. So
Got it.
I think it's just rolling with the punches and keeping that slow drip coming in if possible. And if suddenly the slow drip stops for whatever reason, it's just going to problem solve mode.
Yeah. And it's really amazing that your husband, and I think I've seen also your family serves as your crew, and like just people who know you so well and they've been doing it for so many years. And I think I saw like Kevin got into ultras because of you. Like he wasn't really running so much until you guys met. So it's really nice to have that kind of support system with people that you really know and trust. And, even when you're exhausted, I'm sure like he can really read you well and know what you need, so that must be really key to your success. I am guessing.
It's been really fun too, because since I got into ultras, he's been part of my life almost from the very beginning. And so we've, learned all of this stuff together. So we've, gone through this, figure out the nutrition game for years together. And we've gone through, figuring out how to run an ultra or going through the night or all of that stuff as a team. And so, yeah, he can read me really well. And when I roll into an aid station, he can basically look at my eyes and my face and tell, the things I'm not saying about what might have happened on the trail. Leading.
That's amazing. No, that's great. That's exactly what you want. I run with Matt. Well, I'm taking a little bit of a break from like the longer stuff right now with my kids and stuff. But my husband and I used to do, ultras and other races together. And I think I tried pacing him in a marathon one year, and it was just like a total fail. I was not a good pacer. He was basically like, shut up. but because pacing is an art for sure. Like you really have to know the person, what the person needs, and not distract them, because obviously like you want them to just like get into their zone or whatever. But are you pacing Kevin at all in races or crewing for him and when he does his own?
Yeah, I've gotten to return the favor, and in the last couple of years he got up to the 100-mile distance, and so nice. I got to crew him and pace him and be on the other side of it, which I was basically just like trying to do it as like half as good of a job as when he crews me, because he's the best crew. He's dialed it in, and he's just really intuitive and amazing at it. And so I was like, don't screw up.
And he's also really detail oriented, right? And it's not that you're not detail oriented, but it sounds like he's kind of the details person in your relationship.
Entirely different. Yeah. So he's got spreadsheets, and I'm like, I just have a general idea of a plan.
Yeah. Wait, and he's a software engineer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of, that makes sense. So he's a data guy.
Yeah.
My husband's also a software engineer, and he like is such a numbers geek. He loves that stuff. So
yeah, which is awesome. Good to have one of those.
Yes, absolutely. So racing schedule for 2020. Let's talk about it. So we already talked about Big. That's on the horizon for you. I'm guessing that's like one of your main races, and you're signed up for Hardrock.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you tried before?
No, I haven't.
It got canceled last year.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So what are you thinking for that race? You must be pretty stoked to do it.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's on some huge mountains here in Colorado, 100-mile loop down in the San Juans, and it will be really cool to experience it for the first time and try and move quickly on big mountains will be fun. So that'll be my first kind of big target of the year. And then I'll be going back to UTMB about a month after that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, which is fun to go back to UTMB and do that course again, but also fun to stack it up against Hardrock and see, what that recovery process looks like to be my best for another 100-mile mountain race. I think it's like 6 weeks after Hardrock. So that'll be a cool challenge that I'm excited for. And then Big's Backyard is in October. So those are kind of the three big main targets of the year.
Awesome. And for bigs, do you have, I mean, obviously your goal for all these races is to win, but for bigs, do you have a number in mind that you're trying to like hit miles wise?
No, I think that the field that's being assembled this year will be definitely going into the 300s.
Wow.
And I think just being prepared to go up to 400 or, whatever needed to stay in it and keep pushing will be necessary. I think that one is tricky if you get attached to a number, because once you hit that number, you start to deflate a little bit. Like, I already got that goal. I could call it a day and be happy because I hit the number. But if your goal is to see the limit, then you can't be attached to stopping at any point.
What's the highest number of miles running that race right now? Do you know?
283.
Okay. And you did 279 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's be fun. What's kind of your strategy regarding like that recovery, that kind of back to back? Like, do you have anything that you're going to do differently, or is it really just, again, dialing into what your body needs?
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've thought about it and then I figured out how many weeks apart they are and that it's going to be a challenge, but I haven't made a firm plan on what I'll do or not do to recover for those weeks. I think listening to my body will be really important, and taking that feedback and actually, doing something with it will be the name of the game. So I can predict sort of how I'll feel, but I'm not sure then what will feel good to, restart the engine to go again 6 weeks later. So I think it'll be just kind of playing it by ear.
And so no Western States this year?
No Western States this year.
Okay. And is that something you want to go back to another year, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I'd love to go back. This year, it's kind of fun to put the focus on just big mountain races and try and learn how to move quickly on a little more technical terrain or up at high altitude.
Got it. And you have that kind of in your backyard, I guess. So it's, I guess training for this stuff won't be do you have to travel very far to kind of get to some of the big mountains, or not really?
Not too far. The trick of it, of course, will be that it's winter right now. And so the big mountains are buried in snow. And so it'll be just getting on them as quickly as possible once the snow melts out, which is hopefully May or June, but we'll see.
Yeah. In terms of, I mean, I know with all the coronavirus craziness, I just had to ask, is that affecting your racing training plans at all at this point? I mean, obviously you don't live in a densely populated city as I do, but you're still outside of Denver. I mean, I don't know at this point especially with like UTMB, and maybe it's just too far out to know what's going to happen, but so many things are shutting down, like Philly's on lockdown now. Is that something on your mind at all? Or not really?
I mean, it's something that I don't get to have control over. So I think a lot of races are just sending out, like a heads up, this is happening in the world. And so just be on alert that we're monitoring the situation and we'll let you know when we know. So I mean, is it possible? For sure. Am I going to lose sleep over it right now? No. But
good thing you have those frozen pizzas in your freezer.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Doing what I can, and then not worrying about the stuff I don't have control over. So if UTMB gets canceled because of it, that's just how it swings this year, and we'll make a new plan.
I mean, hey, Hardrock got canceled because of non-virus related things.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You really just never know what's going to happen with all this stuff, and you just do your best to prepare, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's not like you're not enjoying yourself training anyways, although I'm sure it was. I mean, I'm sure you were bummed out when Hardrock got canceled after training for it, right?
Oh, for sure. But it was something that everyone was dealing with, so it was like being bummed about it won't change the outcome.
Yeah. And hopefully you'll get a chance to finally run it this year.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's move into my quick bites questions, and then I'll let you get on your way. And are you running after this, or where are you off to? How far do you think?
Well,
Or you can see?
hard to say. Yeah.
Are you taking nutrition with you? Maybe that's the question.
I don't know. I got to get figured out for my day here.
Got it. Okay. Favorite meal or snack when you're in a hurry?
Oh, goldfish crackers.
Nice. Favorite meal? It's just like my toddler, right?
Yeah.
She seriously will eat goldfish all day, every day. I personally like the pretzel ones, but that's just me. Favorite meal or snack when you're not in a hurry?
I think grilling, like grilled burgers or bratwurst and some grilled veggies, all of that is really great.
What are your favorite nacho toppings?
Ground beef, shredded cheese, not the liquid cheese, all the veggies and pico de gallo and jalapenos. I guess, yeah, classics like that. And then layered into the chips, not just on top.
Do you make nachos yourself at home ever?
Sometimes it'll be just that we happen to have a few ingredients that would be good. We don't often like buy all of the things to make the really gourmet nachos.
Gourmet nachos. That's okay. Got it. I know it sounds so funny. Gourmet nachos. Like, what does that look like? Maybe it's like grass-fed organic beef and extra fancy cheese or something. Blue chips. I don't know. Okay. Favorite candy?
Jelly beans.
Any particular flavor or all of them?
The Jelly Belly ones with the 59 flavors or whatever's in the bag.
Nice. Okay. Favorite post-race meal or snack?
Beer and nachos.
Got it. Biggest cooking catastrophe, if maybe, I don't know if that exists for you, if you did try to cook something and didn't go so well?
Yeah, that would involve me cooking something, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, maybe and maybe not. I don't know.
I have tried to pull out a frozen pizza from the oven, and it flipped and face down went onto the floor, which was
sucks.
a huge bummer. Yeah, it's not exactly a cooking catastrophe as much as I was just clumsy and incapable of pulling a frozen pizza out of the oven.
Okay, but the question is, did you still eat it?
I don't remember. I think it might have gotten
eaten it.
Yeah. I don't remember. Definitely lost all the cheese and like all the good stuff. So it was basically just crust with some sauce on it.
Oh no, that's depressing.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Okay. That sucks. Especially if you had just gotten back from a run or you're really hungry.
Yeah. Or it was the last pizza.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's no fun. That would really suck. Then you definitely would have just eaten it, right?
Yeah.
I think at this point, like when I had my first kid, I was like, oh, she can't eat anything off the floor. And now we're like all eating things off the floor. I just give up. It's just, everything ends up on the floor anyways. Most bizarre or exotic food that you've ever tried?
I think I had a cricket that was roasted over a fire one time.
Oh, was it good?
I don't remember it being bad or good. I just remember being like, it's crunchy and this is a cricket and that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like the legs and
yeah.
There was a food truck in New York City one day. I was like roaming around and there was like this random food truck with like, it was like some magazine. They were like trying to do an article on like insects are the future of protein and like sustainable protein. And they were giving away free, like amazing ice cream, but you had to get a topping that was like ants or crickets or something like that's like required. And I really wanted the ice cream. But I was just like, oh, I don't know if I could do it, but I didn't. It really wasn't that bad.
Did you choose ants?
I think I chose ants. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was a little strange because I thought there was finest. It would be weird, but anywho. How do you like your eggs cooked?
Currently, I'm in a fried egg stage.
Runny yolk?
Not runny yolk.
Not into it? Does it creep you out?
It doesn't creep me out. I just prefer it not runny right now.
Got it. Wine, beer, or liquor? I think I know the answer to that, but we'll ask anyways.
Definitely beer.
Got it. Do you drink every day or not every day?
Not every day, no.
Do you drink the night, like the week before a race or the night before a race?
Yeah. I mean, if people are sitting around or my crew's in town and we're planning, we might have a beer together the night before a race. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like drinking a ton the week of a race, but I'm not going to cut it out. If life takes me towards a place with a beer in my hand, then that's what I'll do that week.
Nice. Awesome. What foods remind you of growing up? What are your comfort foods?
For sure, we always had bowls of candy around the house, so just candy in general growing up. And then I think, yeah, like there was this like chip scoop dip that my parents would put together that was like avocados and ground beef and cheese and basically nachos, but not on chips. You scooped the chips into them. And I think that reminds me of home a lot.
Nice. Do you get home very often?
We try to. Yeah, Minnesota isn't such a bad travel stint from Colorado, so we'll go a couple times a year to see my family there.
Are your siblings there as well, or are they kind of spread out?
One of my siblings is in Minnesota, and the other is currently not in Minnesota.
Got it. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookie dough.
Yum. Do you
mostly just the cookie dough though?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you just like get like the cookie dough in that like roll and just like open it up and eat it with a spoon?
I plead the fifth.
Yes. And last but not least, top 3 items of gear that are most essential to your active lifestyle.
Oh geez, I guess some good shoes. So I have some great shoes that I can do on road or trail, which makes it easy to not have a plan when I leave the house. And sunscreen chapstick. And I don't know what my third piece of gear that's essential would be.
Poles, sunglasses, vest, any other clothes, your shorts that you're so famous for wearing.
Yeah, probably some comfortable clothing.
Some sort of comfortable clothing.
Yeah.
Got it. How did you get into wearing those shorts running? It's just like the most comfy thing.
Yeah, I think I have always trended towards the longer shorts growing up, and I didn't change it when I started running ultras. So it's just been part of, what I like to wear, and I don't see a reason to be more aerodynamic for.
Yeah, and you don't have any chafing issues like with baggy shorts? Do you wear
I don't.
underneath it? You don't? Okay.
Yeah.
That's always my concern with something like that, is like my thighs would chafe or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on your body type.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Courtney, for your time. It was such an honor having you on the show today, and really fun hearing all about your nutrition beyond the beers, nacho, and candies.
What you heard is there's not much.
No, that's not fair to you. No, you eat more than that. You know, like people are like talking as if like all you eat is candy all day. Obviously, that's not the case.
No,
but again, congrats on an amazing year, and I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming races.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, and have a great run.
See you.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. I meant to get that out a long time ago, but I'm sure it's been the same in your households. It's just really hard getting things done these days with kids at home, no childcare, trying to work, all of that fun stuff. So podcasting has taken a back seat, but I do hope to bring you a couple more episodes in the next month or so. Just doing my best to get those out. A lot of my recordings that had been planned have been postponed for now, so sorry I'm not going to be as active as I normally am, but if you are new to my podcast, then you can always check out some of the other episodes that I've done. There are lots to listen to, and I hope you guys are all staying safe and active if you can. Excuse the noises of my toddler in the background. It's impossible to get a quiet recording over here. But if you haven't already, I've asked this before, but if you haven't already, please consider doing a rating or review on iTunes. My goal for this podcast is really just to get, some listeners. And of course, if you want to offer some feedback, if you have any guest requests, if you yourself would like to be on my podcast, I'm always, looking for more people to interview if you have an interesting story to share. Thanks for listening, guys. Really appreciate your support as always. Stay safe.